We will now begin the press conference by Prime Minister Takaichi. Prime Minister Takaichi will make initial remarks, and that will be followed by a Q&A session. Prime Minister, the floor is yours. Thank you, and good afternoon. I wish to share with you my thoughts as this trip to Gyeongju to attend the APEC economic leaders meeting comes to an end. Today is the 12th day in office as Prime Minister. Since last week, events have taken place one after another with the ASEAN-related summits, President Trump's visit to Japan, and the APEC economic leaders meeting as I dashed through the intense and meaningful week of diplomacy. During the series of diplomatic events, I was able to move forward the policies that I had placed on the agenda at the time of my appointment to the stage of implementation. Those policies include promotion and evolution of FOIP, free and open Indo-Pacific, to make the concept aligned with the times, elevating the Japan-US alliance to new heights, and establishing trust and cooperation with major regional countries through frank dialogue. In order to restore Japanese diplomacy that flourishes on the world's center stage, I have made a good start through bold steps. President Trump and other leaders I met during the week received me with congratulatory remarks on my appointment to Prime Minister and warm welcome. I am pleased that I have been able to build personal relationships with leaders which will form the foundation of future bilateral ties. And a few hours ago, the APEC economic leaders meeting to which I attended concluded at the AELM under the theme of building a sustainable tomorrow, and based on the priorities of connect, innovate, and prosper. Active discussions took place with leaders. As Japan strives to build a strong economy, sustainable growth and prosperity of the Asia-Pacific are essential. At the AELM, I stressed the importance of maintaining and strengthening a rules-based, free and fair economic order and a high-level CPTPP, and the need to swiftly deal with pressing issues of the WTO, which can no longer be deferred. I also demonstrated Japan's determination to contribute to regional development and resolution of social challenges through strategic growth investment by public-private partnership in such areas as AI and digital, energy, and infrastructure. The Gyeongju Declaration agreed by APEC economic leaders explicitly mentioned several factors that are of high priority for Japan. We believe that this was a result of several member economies sharing Japan's position. At this meeting, decision was made for Japan to take on the chair of APEC in 2031. We will make all our efforts to prepare for the year 2031. And on the sidelines of APEC, I had separate meetings with President Xi Jinping of China, President Lee Jae-myung of the Republic of Korea, and other leaders.
Between President Xi and I, we confirmed the broad direction of our bilateral relationship, namely the comprehensive advancement of a mutually beneficial relationship based on common strategic interests and the building of a constructive and stable relationship. With President Xi, we discussed the various pending issues. What I stressed was that it is precisely because there are pending issues and differences that the top leaders directly and frankly engage in dialogue. It is my hope that this meeting will trigger further attempts to address the various challenges and cooperation. In my talks with President Lee Jae-myung, we agreed on the significance of Japan-ROK relations and cooperation between Japan, ROK, and the United States in the present strategic environment. In particular, we confirmed that we will develop our bilateral relationship into one which is future-oriented and stable, based on the foundation of Japan-Korea relationship, which has been built since the normalization of diplomatic relations between our two countries. To this end, we agreed that both governments will continue to closely communicate in the future as well, which includes the conduct of shuttle diplomacy. Aside from this, today I met with Prime Minister Carney of Canada and confirmed that we would further cooperate toward the realization of FOIP, or the Free and Open Indo-Pacific. We had a candid exchange of views on the current international situation. Now, next year marks the 10th year since Prime Minister Abe at the time initially advocated FOIP in 2016. The free and open and stable order, which we have become familiar with, is being significantly shaken, and more than ever, powerful diplomacy and security policies are necessary. I started with a visit to ASEAN, welcomed President Trump in Japan, and here in the ROK as well, I was able to engage in important diplomatic activities. But we have only started in our attempt to restore Japan's diplomacy, which flourishes on the world's center stage. It is my intention to address the issues of strengthening the U.S.-Japan alliance, which is now the greatest alliance in the world, cooperation with a broad range of partners for the realization of FOIP or FOIP, strengthening relationships of trust with the major counterparts of the region. With respect to each of these, I will make my utmost effort going forward based on the results of diplomacy achieved this time. This concludes my opening remarks.
We now would like to accept questions from the journalists. First, we will give the floor to the Japanese press. Those with questions, please raise your hand. Thank you very much for this occasion. My name is Jijiwa of TV Asahi, and I'm the lead managing journalist. I may overlap with your initial remarks, but this was your debuting APEC, so how do you evaluate the achievements? And as you have pointed out, you began with ASEAN, followed by President Trump's visit to Japan, Japan ROK and Japan-China summits, and now APEC. So this was a week of diplomacy. What's your assessment of the series of events? And another point. You've experienced many diplomatic scenes, but this is only the 12th day in office. But what do you think about Takaichi diplomacy? What's the definition? What's your style of diplomacy? You probably by now have your own image of diplomacy. Maybe you're trying to do something different from before. So what's the image of the Takaichi diplomacy? As the concluding event of the week of diplomacy, which began immediately after inauguration at the AELM, I was able to clearly demonstrate Japan's commitment to the strong economic development and prosperity of the Asia-Pacific. Decision for Japan to host APEC in 2031 was yet another major achievement. This was also a great opportunity to engage in meaningful meetings with responsible leaders of the region. I exchanged words with them directly, and as I mentioned in my initial remarks, I had frank dialogues with China and ROK, who are important neighbors, and was able to solidify the groundwork in advancing diplomacy at the highest level. Looking back on the past week at the ASEAN-related summits, strengthened partnership with ASEAN, the cornerstone of FOIP, and other like